And so he just did this every time he wanted to talk about Maokai ult. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just act it out. Act it out, people. People will eventually figure out what ult you're talking about.
I'm trying to think of a good ult to act out, but I also don't want to make too much of a fool of myself, more than I normally do on cast anyway.
I mean, we can't all just essentially start doing the YMCA on broadcast. But Village People references aside, we're already into picks and bans, and things are looking pretty standard here. Azir taken off the table on the side of Team Forge. Mousesports banning out that Lucian. Once again, some 80 carry focus, and Azir 100% pick ban remains true. The ban numbers just continuing to rise.
Yeah, continuing to escalate throughout. So maybe we'll see some Azir on Tuesday when we're back for games, but not today. He is remaining unavailable. That's an interesting one.
Elise.
Dan doesn't want Elise in this game.
Dan is a mystery man.
He's an enigma.
We share a name. I appreciate that. And I like his choice in Rek'Sai, but the Elise ban is very odd.
When you look at like jungle bans, it's like Nidalee, Kindred, or Graves.
Yeah.
Generally is what we've seen. Dan's also, I don't want to see Nidalee. He's getting everything that isn't Rek'Sai out of this game.
If it does magic damage and it's not a fat man, I do not want to see it in this game.
Is that a Rise ban coming out last? You feel like it probably would
I mean, I think despite the, kind of lackluster showing last game, I think that Rise still has to be the priority, right? It's still so oppressive.
The other option is you ban the Graves here. But then that's playing right into the hands of Dan. So what's available? Braum, if we go by the last game, would be the first pick. Other options, if you want to take the Lissandra flex away, we did see one game of a Lissandra first pick. I think Lissandra's strong. I don't think she's first pickable in every game. It's just an option.
Is Victor first pickable, do you think? I mean, haven't seen the priority on it, but he's been so strong. Oh. That's definitely an option.
Well, you saw what happened yesterday when Team Forge had to play into a Maokai, so maybe Maus are like, let's just do that again. Let's hope they go Lulu Lissandra. But with this amount of jungle priority, I mean, when it comes to the bans, Forge basically have the pick of the litter still. There's not exactly that much that isn't available.
I'm curious to see what they're going to lock. Kindred, Alistair, interesting picks. There's a lot of good supports on the table. There's not a whole ton left in the jungle pool. Gragas. Not going to say Rek'Sai. Dan. Come on, man.
If it's Dan, it's going to be... I feel like the Rek'Sai is coming. Because you've banned 2 jungle picks.
No. Okay.
No.
We're not talking about Rivers. It's totally...
The 5 seconds of doing nothing turning into a Scarecrow buff is not enough.
I feel like Dan had a lot of seconds of doing nothing on the Rek'Sai. I'm sorry, Rek'Sai isn't very good. Dan, I actually think, is a very talented jungler, but I don't think you can do much with Rek'Sai. As much as I love to see that champion, it's so difficult to get something out.
Just doesn't have the early presence anymore. And the global presence that Rek'Sai used to have that was so good, really doesn't count for much these days. Just in the way that a lot of double TP is coming out, so it's just like, well, we have 2. Is a third all that useful? Because generally you want the jungle with the AD carry and the support, but at this point, support is what I kind of want to talk about for Hiva. Haven't seen him in the CSQs yet. Now on the Alistair, Hiva is one of the just super aggressive players. I know him mainly for his Annie when it was relevant, and he would just like flash engage on everybody.
Obviously, we've got an Alistair this game, but don't count it out yet. Of course, we have the rotations coming in. Let's talk about Team Forge first. We've got the Kindred, we've got the Alistair. Alistair for Hiva, you talk about as an aggressive support. Do you think he's going to be able to make those plays facing up against the Braum and the Victor here?
He's going to try. It's Hiva. He's just going in, doesn't matter. With the Victor alongside, we were asking, do we think it's first pickable? Certainly blind pickable right now in the current meta. So I like to see the Victor going over to Caps. Caps has been playing pretty well as well. I've been fairly impressed with him when it comes to his performances, but still have to see how this game exactly is going to go. Yesterday he played the Fizz. Had that game where he was like, well, I'm doing well. Not sure about the rest of the team, but...
I'm doing well. The Caps story.
Is that his autobiography name?
Might as well be. I mean, he's had some pretty impressive performances, and, it just has to translate for the full team here as we see the final lock-ins on the second rotation here. Going to be that Echo. We can assume going into the top lane or Mimic, but Sivir getting picked up as well. I feel like this is the makings of a very strong composition on the side of Team Forge.
Now, what I find interesting about this is, obviously Echo coming into this, we figured would still be a top priority top laner, but knowing you've got the Maokai on the other side, I wonder why this isn't a Gnar pick. just from the presence that we've seen when it comes to bullying the 1v1, still possible for Echo to do, don't get me wrong, but also to have the teamfight presence and being a tank again is going to make Mouse think twice about where they go on their AD carry route.
I agree that I think Gnar is probably the more optimal top laner in this situation, but we also have to remember that Gnar came out of nowhere.
True,
like,
true.
No one is really prepped to Gnar. I'm surprised at how many people have actually been able to play it. Maybe it's been coming up in scrims, but in the top lane for Mimic, you have to wonder, like, he was probably ready for the, you know, the Trundle, the Maokai, the Poppy, and the Echo. You know, like the core of the old meta. And
as you said, it came out of nowhere. Willib tweeted that nobody had even played it in scrims against them, so very interesting to see. I don't think there's any issues with the Echo, but I think there's issues with the jungle pick. Nunu, the most hands-off, well, I'm just going to farm for a long time and then have zone control in fights. I don't know how big of a fan I am of this. Nunu, everybody tries to play every kind of meta. Is like, is this actually good or not?
Okay. I'm going to resist the temptation to be critical. I was critical of Dan earlier. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. What does the Nunu do for this team composition?
So it's going to provide zone control in fights. When you look at the areas that 4G can actually look to fight in, going to provide another tank setup. Also, you know, some sense of a source of AP damage. I'm assuming Dan is building full tank, probably the Frozen Heart style that we've become used to see out of Nunu just throughout, you know, in general history when it comes to League. So that's the kind of way he's going to go. Obviously, good control over objectives. A Nunu, a Kalista, good luck ever taking anything. Normally it's like 1800 that people like Rents might have. This is going to be like 3k. It's going to be like Rents might consume.
Yeah, I mean, and the Dragon buffs are pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's how they get control of this game. Maybe look to snowball off these objectives. But the final picks are coming in. Interestingly enough, it is going to be that Morgana headed into the mid lane, and the Echo. Wait a second.
Echo's going top.
Yeah,
Echo's going top.
For a second, for whatever reason, I was like, Kindred's. I just like mind went blank. I was like, Echo in the jungle. No. Like, I didn't even. Yeah. No. Obviously, Echo going top lane. Interesting picks up here overall, and I feel like the Morgana coming in the mid lane as well. A little bit oddball here on both sides. Does Morgana? I guess Morgana with the Black Shield though would do pretty well against that Victor Gravity Field.
Yeah, that is one thing. Also, will protect the Sivir somewhat when you look at that Black Shield. A lot of things to keep people alive when it comes to 4G. You've got that Black Shield. You've got the Kindred ultimate as well. So there's a lot of different options. This Nunu though.
Okay. Now, my last experience with Nunu was Clear Love in the LPL playing Nunu.
Okay.
And I love his Nunu because it spawned what is my favorite jungle terminology, which is the Clear Love gank. Okay. Which is where you just run through the lane ambiently, hit someone with an ability, and then run out. You just create that pressure.
Just whoop.
Yeah,
I'm
get in there. And
snowball, and I'm out.
That's like, we can expect this Nunu to get really far ahead in farm and items.
Right.
Which is pretty big, but I don't feel like Nunu has a huge impact.
Well, it's like good luck doing anything in the early game, right? Yeah. I guess one saving grace for the Nunu now is you're not playing against a stacking Kindred where you both go, okay, we're just going to stack for 30 minutes, see who comes out further farmed, and see who's ahead. So you're against now like a ganking Kindred, which means that you kind of can counter gank a little bit more on Nunu, I guess, than just sit in the jungle
attack
and farm.
Speed and movement speed for Kalista is pretty huge. I mean, that's more mobility and more frequent leaps, right? So potentially very strong with that composition. Honestly, my biggest concern is damage. Yeah. Like Kalista, Victor?
I mean, Kalista for the early game, Victor for the later game. Nunu, Nunu's not a fun champion. Like, to watch or to play or to play against.
No. Like, playing Nunu is distinctly fun.
Only if you're playing Nunu bot.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you got it better than I did. Yeah, of course, guys, we've just got a bit of a delay here coming out. We've got some ping issues on the side of Mouse. So getting those resolved, got to make sure everyone can play on equal footing. Got to have perfect ping if you're going to start stealing jungle camps with the Nunu. So
yeah, pressing Q on camps is real difficult.
You got to time it. There's a smite you got to compete with.
It's like 1K. It's a boom. Q it. It's fine. It died. Don't worry. Everything's good. Yummy. Delicious. At this point, this cast is devolved into Nunu bot, which I'm not.
I hope he's using Nunu bot. We're gonna see.
I mean, he's gotta be.
Well, there's no other skin, as far as I'm concerned. There's Nunu the Grouch, which is like pretty good, you know.
Yeah. TPA.
Okay, yeah, TPA is pretty sweet. He's got the little TPA logo monster. whoever that guy is.
This is where he'll be playing like, is it, which is the one that's just like a color change, where
There's a
Nunu
lot
just
of
has
them.
like brown fur, and that's like the only change.
Sasquatch Nunu, I think.
That's the one.
Yeah. Is it Workshop Nunu? Is that the one where he's like the Santa hat?
Yeah. That's not too bad.
This has been your guide through Nunu skins.
Destroyer Nunu.
Oh yeah.
Is the
I remember.
metal one.
I thought that was so cool. I was like, dang, I'm gonna play Nunu, and I bought that skin, and I got in a game, and I was like, I'm still Nunu. I may be covered in metal, but I'm still just running at people and hitting them, and there's not a whole lot else going on.
No. Well, you could just ult during a fight and hope nobody cancels it. I wonder whether Nunu. He's going to be building tanks. So there's no chance of like the old Empire that is like the old thing that a lot of viewers that joined like Season 3 and onwards won't really realize, which was, the old Empire play where you'd sit in a bush as Nunu, pop your ult, and because you don't see the targeting indicator, if we say there's an Empire, that's what it means, just for newer viewers. It's like Season 1, Season 2.
Yeah, you gotta stick up with the old League of Legends references. The
super old.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Way before LCS.
Oh man, I'm excited for the potential Empire. Although, admittedly, in the pro player scene, it's a little bit harder to pull it off because people look at their buff toggle. They're like, why am I suddenly slowed by an absurd amount?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like Nunu. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. It's not fun, but comboed with the Kalista.
And I feel so bad for Dan because we're like, what are you doing?
I don't, because I sat in this chair and I watched him play Jungle Renekton, and I had to watch that and be like, well, why is it good? And I can tell you why Nunu is decent with the Kalista, that kind of setup. You, as you alluded to already,
Martial Poise, Blood Boil.
Martial Poise, and it's good to just have that Kalista run rampant.
I don't even know if she has blood, but clearly she's going to be moving fast and throwing a lot of spears, and that's really all you need.
That's a good point.
But I think this is one of the big things that we often have to bring up with less experienced players in the professional scene, or players who like to stick more towards comfort picks. Is like, at what point does picking what's strong in the meta come above personal comfort, right? If it's the difference between like playing Elise and playing Nidalee, I feel like that's fine. But if it's the difference between playing, Gragas and playing Nunu, I feel like even if you're not as comfortable in the Gragas, he's just such a strong champion that it has to be what you opt for.
Yeah, I mean, there is certainly still positives to seeing the Nunu. I don't want to sound like I'm being like, this is going to lose them the game, because it's not, certainly. And, it's a comfort pick for Dan. We've seen him play it previously, not really in Challenger, but in other sort of tournaments. So certainly there is that aspect to it as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with it. There are engage options when you look at the Maokai with the Kalista, the Braum. So certainly there's, a good platform to build from for this team. But I want to switch over to 4G just a little bit, because we talked a lot about the Nunu, we
got excited about the oddball jungle picks.
So we've got Engage on 4G as well. You look at it, you've got the Alistair, you've got the Echo as well as follow-up. So these team fights is pretty much whoever hits the first piece of crowd control, there's just going to be more piling on top of it all the time.
And you got to think like Morgana's suddenly in the middle of your team, and you're like trying to flash out, but suddenly there's an Echo thing behind you, and there's really no right option. You've got Hiva, apparently the king of aggression. You have a lot more experience watching this guy than I do.
So I would be careful with saying king, because that alludes to it always being good aggression.
Dude, we have...
so Hiva is aggressive for aggressive sake at sometimes. Sometimes he'd just be in lane and he'd just be like, bam, got him with a stun, and then it wouldn't always end up so good. But one thing is for certain, Hiva on the Alistair is always going to look to engage.
Yeah. Of course, as we talk just a little bit more, we're just about a minute away from the game, ladies and gentlemen. So hold on, we're getting in. I promise, not only will we talk about the Nunu, you will get to witness it yourself.
You will.
But focusing back in on 4G, Morgana in the mid lane versus the Victor.
Yep.
Mid lane is something we always have to talk about on this patch. What do you think the Morgana itemization is coming out of this?
Well, you've got to assume Zhonya's is always going to be in there. Old style build, you'd look at like Rod of Ages, Zhonya's, which I still think is fine here. I don't really think you have to go the route of like the Morellonomicon or any of the new other items. I think just going that standard way is probably going to be fine for this setup. Of course, Zhonya's now gives you the extra CDR as well. So probably that route, and then a bunch of AP on top of it, would be my estimation, at least. But
get your utility and then just build the damage.
Yes,
seems like
exactly.
For most of these characters, actually. So Morgana, early game, Victor, I feel like they both kind of just push the waves.
It's just wave clear. Yeah. It's one of those mid lanes where it's just like, everybody's going to farm.
All right, but
I have an answer for you, though.
Yes.
I have an answer for you. It's Nunu bot. It is Nunu bot coming out in the jungle.
It's everything I wanted.
Oh god, I just
My
know
dreams.
Dan's also just gonna run around and just go ha 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 ha.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, folks. If Dan can play Nunu bot in Challenger qualifiers, you can do anything.
You can do anything, apparently.
Moving forward, focusing back in as we are loading up into game here. Echo versus Maokai. We've seen Echo. He was so powerful in MSI, such a strong, high-priority pick. I feel like he's really fallen off here in 610.
Well, a couple more tweaks were added, and also just people really learned how to play the Maokai matchup, where it's just like, well, you know, I force Echo to build a little bit more magic resist, typically build that, the Amara cloak early on, first in the rotation, so it means Echo doesn't quite get the power as early, and that means you can actually hold fairly well as the Maokai, so... It's just a matchup that has become tougher for Echo over previous patches.
I just can't stop grinning every time I see Nunu bot. That skin. That skin is a masterpiece. And it's so old, too. And it was just well put together. Whoever made that understood the core of Nunu's identity. Like, the delicious line just does it for me. Thank you, observers.
Dan, because he's Nunu...
Yes.
Bought a pink ward to start. Because you can. You got Consume. It's going to heal you up through the jungle. Only needs one potion with that the talisman. So pink ward was dropped very early. It's going to allow them to clear out that ward should they choose. But will Mousesports go for it? Because that tells you the pink ward's there.
Yeah, it lets you know the pink ward's there. There's no value in taking that.
What it allowed them to do was also skirt around the ward that was there. So it didn't get spotted out. Yeah. There is a ward blocking the top side, though, that is going to block him from just invading. But he's spotted...
Is he? Oh, okay, he does get spotted. So they know, now they know the lane swap's coming out, and it's before the jungle camps have spawned, so they have an opportunity to respond, but it looks like Braum may be poking in here. He's ready to interrupt this jungle clear.
But yeah, it's a pivot now that they end up going for the Raptors instead. Is Braum going to check all the way down, though? Norskeren looks like he will. Yeah, it does spot them out. Gets the information. Does he steal anything?
Oh, look at that Braum CS.
Nothing on Braum. Yeah, I'm just staring at that rather than anything else. He got nothing.
Not going to get it. We got to trust the observers. Yep. They'll keep us there. They'll keep us there. Nunu and Maokai, no surprises, clearing out this jungle with relative ease. Dan already used that smite and that consume. And Mimic actually just going to run straight to the bottom lane. No, actually backing off, debating. Not really sure what he wants to do at this stage. Dan and Wardane continuing to clear this out, ready to go up to the top lane. And one thing we can be sure of is that Nunu is actually going to help take these towers very quickly.
Yeah, you can see he's already got the point in Blood Boil. He's going to be able to just chomp through that blue buff very quickly as well himself. Wardane still only level 1, doesn't really matter as he goes up to the top lane to help out. So once he does arrive on that Nunu, Blood Boil, Kalista, get yourself hitting that turret just a little bit faster. And here's the Farm Fest in the middle lane. Bit of damage traded on from Caps. Going to utilize that shield that Victor has. Means that Jizuki can't really trade with anything, can't hit a binding through the minions. Doesn't have that Tormented Soil available after using it as well. So easy trade, but look at this damage already on the turret. That is like half the turret's health difference between the two teams already, and the Nunu hasn't even really arrived.
And he's just taking everything.
Steal the red.
He's hungry. He wants it all. And of course, Kindred gonna snag the Scuttle Crab. Of course, thank you, Twitter. And the gentleman, I'm sorry, I cannot remember your name, who helped point out the early spawns. And Scuttle Crab and Wolf are the only areas where the first couple marks can spawn.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, not complete RNG insanity like I thought it was.
I was trying to hold your hand through that one. See if I just didn't want to be like, no, it's only on the early camps.
You gotta shut me down, man.
You
gotta let me know.
Hopefully I made it slightly obvious enough for people that were watching that they only felt that one of us.
Yeah. I have a bad history with Kindred in League of Legends. Doesn't always work out.
That's fair. I think we all have those moments. Don't worry.
Taiki, though, gonna have one of those moments of his own as he realizes that red buff is already gone, and Nunu is just clearing through this map.
Ooh, you know what's fun? An Infernal Dragon spawning first. It's my first one. First game of having an Infernal Dragon.
No.
Yeah, there's a Nunu and a Kalista.
Still Earth, Cloud, Infernal. We still need the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay. When that hat comes up, you're going to be so insanely happy. Are you sure you don't want the Earth, Wind, and Ground from last game?
Earth, Wind, and Ground.
But, I mean, this Infernal Dragon is going to die exceptionally quickly as soon as Mouse decide they want it. Kalista plus Nunu means goodbye Dragon, and Infernal Dragon isn't one of the ones with the higher resistances. It's still fairly similar to Old Dragon with how quickly it dies.
And it's going to be, I think, interesting to see what priority is placed down here, because you've got the Kalista Nunu, as you said, and it seems very, very easy for Mouse to just take this one.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to look at it as to what it offers as well, because this isn't Air or Cloud where you're just looking for, oh, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of movement. To give Kalista and Victor this early damage, this early boost, is fairly significant, because it means as soon as you get into a fight, having that boost from just being easily able to take Dragon should be enough to tip the fight. But Taiki...
Oh, moving forward, TP coming in as well. Mounting Dread stacked up. Hiba, aggressive as ever. Dan trying to do some damage. Looking for the stun set. Here. Running in. It's the fight we were waiting for. Binding goes down. Wardane's going to drop. First blood over to 4G.
One kill from that fight after everybody arrived. All the TPs were used, and Wardane did not have his ultimate available. Was only level 3 for that fight. Nobody had ults, in fact, and that does not benefit Mouse with a fight like that. 4G managed to pick up a kill onto the Morgana here as well, and what that does do is slow down Mouse from even thinking about taking that Dragon for a little while. They need extra time here, but it is also going to open up an, you know, an opportunity where they won't be able to bring the top laners down for a full-on fight the next time it happens. Maybe that'll be able to give Mouse a little bit of an advantage if Jizuki's on the top side of the map as well.
Yeah, interesting to see, of course. Let's take a look briefly as Kindred clears out this vision. That pink ward bot early game has paid off, but will finally drop. Focusing back in on mid, though, you can see Morgana with that first kill. Interesting enough, Frostfang coming out here.
Well, I mean, as we take a look back, we'll talk about the Frostfang in just a second. So, Norskeren trying to clear a ward, did not expect Taiki really to be there, and in came all the TPs from this. And with no ults available in this fight, it means that Wardane is not tanky enough to survive through this. Normally you'd be like okay with the Maokai being there, the rest of the damage would follow up and it'd be okay.
You're fine to 4v1 for a couple of seconds.
Just for a few, but without ult doesn't really work out too well. So you mentioned the Frostfang, you go towards that Frost Queen's claim, allows you to land bindings very easily, start picks, start fights that way as well. Active into a binding, you know, pretty good on Morgana. Also gives her pretty much everything else she wants as well. You get that mana regen, you get AP. It's all good.
Pretty nice if you're hitting the Kalista or the Victor, the two, pretty much the only two sources of damage. And interestingly enough, despite, you know, Nunu and that insane clear speed, Kindred's matching pace here. Just about dead even in creeps, and Nunu going for the challenging smite where Kindred, despite being normally the duelist we'd expect, actually taking a little bit more of a defensive approach.
Also, Nunu triple buffed Kindred at the beginning of this game, so did certainly have a little bit of a lead from that, but obviously it's been
here we go.
Somewhat of a running game. Here we go. Start the laugh stand, running into lane. Hiva is pretty much caught. If he can taxi his way out, maybe he's okay.
Oh,
flash over.
The will. And he'll throw down the slow there. Morgana's moving down to back him up, though. Dan may be able to spam the lap, but he's not going to get much of anything.
It's a win. No, they used flash on Alistar, so it's not a win on that fight. But certainly just using that taxi to his advantage, just get the headbutt into the flash over the wall. So this is the problem with Nunu. Trying to gank. Can't really do it too well. Doesn't have a whole lot of crowd control. You can snowball somebody and make them walk a little slower, but actually hard crowd control.
And then you can hit them with the red buff and they'll be actually not even slower. I mean, slows don't stack anymore.
Looking for benefits, you can blood boil on yourself so you stack the Braum passive slightly faster. Yeah!
Dang. I thought I was harsh on the Nunu, but you are crushing it.
No, it's fine. Do you know
but it's not.
Okay,
but it's not.
Okay, well,
we have to be honest. The Nunu is questionable, and until we see it do something, like, you have to wonder why they picked it.
This is the other side of it, is it's not at the point of the game where a Nunu in that situation is going to offer anything yet. We are not seeing the point at which Nunu is incredibly tanky, has the zone control on fights, and can really give Kalista the buff that is going to help the Kalista actually output damage. So we're not expecting the Nunu to have the presence this far into the game outside of just farming. So, you know, we'll still be somewhat optimistic about the team fights.
We'll keep our eyes on it as well. We have to keep in mind a lot of the tanky items have been buffed, so maybe Nunu will benefit from that. Cooldown reduction on the Warmogs, Spirit Visage offering more healing, and Cinderhulk most likely, I would guess, going to be the Nunu item coming out. But this is really the utility that Nunu does offer. He may not have gone for the Tracker's Knife, but he is going to be able to grab that Sight Stone, so maybe Mouse just going to be able to make more educated plays with this pick.
Yeah, exactly. He is one of the champions that is fine to just build that on. Very rare we see Sightstone built on junglers these days. As you mentioned, that Tracker's Knife is pretty good as a replacement. And honestly, you look at Mouse, they're going to be fairly difficult to kill. they got Maokai, they've got a Nunu, they've got a Braum. Like, good luck ever getting the damage onto them enough to kill them.
Getting into that backline is going to be really tough.
The Morgana damage from the Tormented Soil is going to be a lot you know, greater than you would normally expect, just because it's mid rather than support. So you take into account the actual damage on it, then the missing health damage that can happen with the Tormented Soil. So there is still a potential to shred through them as well. You've got a Sivir that's going to be building crit.
Cap's
and have
moving
armor
down.
pen. Oh, Cap's got to be
Mounting
careful.
Dread just going to have to flash, so he sees Morgana coming. Spooky Ghost actually coming out.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. Morg can't get in range quite yet.
Yeah.
Still had cleanse available as well. Could have got a second summoner from it.
Firing the binding, but just I think a little bit too far away. And now 4G are going to use this as an opportunity to move onto this dragon. But Dan, this is your time to shine, buddy.
Come on.
Move in there.
Flash
Oh,
into
he's on the way.
Consume steal.
Walking his way over, walking his way out. He knows he can't take this one. Doesn't want to risk the steal for his life. So they are just going to give up the Infernal Dragon. That one is going to scale up as we move forward. 8%. Maybe not the strongest right now, but with so many damage threats between the Kindred, the Morgana, and the Sivir, you know that's going to pay off pretty well as we move later in the game.
Yes, it will. So he's going to take away the topside crab, take away that mark from Kindred. Is he going to solo Rift Herald? Is that what he's trying?
I don't think it's possible.
He's bringing Maokai down. I was going to say, because he's got nobody to tank for him. Rift Herald is really tanky right now, because it actually, you know, survives a lot longer when you've got resistances as well. So it's one of those things where...
Oh, man.
Oh,
this is not
Suzuki.
what you want. Oh, binding not going to hit. Moving forward, there's the ult coming out. Danny doesn't have any options. The flash, it's not enough. The bot goes down. Nunu, why?
It's just... I mean, realistically, you've got to look at it. And Nunu should really be king of objective control, but Dan just ran top, took the crab, which coincidentally, when it dies, if you're taking a while after it, of course that mark disappears from it and you get told where everybody is. Maokai disappears from the lane and it's like, oh, I wonder where they could be. And they just walk in and kill him on Rift Herald.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate because we've seen how quickly the top lane dynamic can shift once someone gets their Glimpse of the Void buff. And now it's going to be 20 minutes where Mimic is going to be stronger on the top side. That's a lot of Mimics. 20 Mimics.
That would be a big buff for LeBlanc. You get 20 of them.
That's what it feels like when you play Earth.
That is true.
Rest in peace weekend. Earth will be back soon enough.
Wow. 4G want to get themselves another tower fairly quickly, and it's another game where I just look at the mouse pick and ban and I'm like, there were so many options that were available for you.
I feel like they want to be the team that does interesting stuff in picks and bans, and it's not working out for them, unfortunately.
I mean, the game's not over, but this is a big lead that's opening up for 4G right now.
And Mouse are getting a turret back on the bottom side, but I don't even know if they're actually going to be able to do this because Echo's moving in. He's level 7. He's got Glimpse of the Void.
Herald Convergence is down.
Moving forward, taking a bit of damage. I don't think they have the tools to dive. Maybe they can ignore him and just take down this tower, however.
He can queue the minions, and that's going to leave him in a position where they can't actually take it for now.
Oh, you can see.
And the TP is available for Jizuki. There's no ward behind him, though, so there's no real TP spot. But there was the option, perhaps, if they could have got it. But
Mimic just clearing out the way as best he can. Time Winder going to be enough at this stage of the game. Nerfs to the damage. Not the end-all, be-all. Still able to clear out those waves. Still able to put that corruption to use to kind of push out here. And Dan, he's wandering around the jungle. He's going to do his best to clear out the mid lane, but he doesn't really have any wave clear outside of that ultimate. And I don't know if he can afford to approach here. Oh, he can. He's going to do it. Boom.
Got him. Nailed it.
Delicious.
Well, I mean, that's one thing Nunu can do. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's a positive. You can walk mid lane.
It's kind of like the culling, but also kind of not at all. Yeah, no, not going to follow me into the abyss of that terrible statement. Nunubot says it best.
Oh,
Nunubot.
Oh, you can be a really bad pick for the current game, at least in my opinion, and not really do what you want, but as soon as those VO lines come out, I'll be falling in love with it. Yep, fall in love with it.
Yeah. Not the healthiest relationship to have with Nunu as a champion, but you know, at least we got something going for us. And now you can see 4G got the gold lead, 3K in their advantage. We're only 14 minutes in. It feels like this game has been moving for much longer, but it's actually just been pretty quick in terms of what 4G have been pressuring on the map. I think they're not scared of the Nunu or really of Mouse at all from what we've seen.
Well, they have no reason to be right now is when you look at it. 4G have been slowly advancing their lead. The Sivir, you know, is slightly up in CS, has been able to have a lot of freedom in this game, farming up. I mean, Echo hasn't really been pressured out too much, so much so that he's just gone straight for the Spirit Visage, and it's just like, the only real threats that I'm worried about are magic damage as this game goes on. So, you know, for 4G, all they've got to really figure out is how to get past this Victor in the middle lane. And that's going to be difficult, because Victor has that augmented E, he's going to just burn through the minion wave. And 4G don't really have anything outside of Hiva going in from the jungle and flanking around the side. That would be the way that they could do it. Get in there with a dive, blow up the Victor, push the tower when he's not alive anymore.
And Hiva buying Moby Boots here. You know, not often we see those.
Oh, this is a play.
Oh, flash headbutt pull. Cleanse coming out, but you can't actually stop the knockup. The Cap's still going to make it to safety. Burns all of his summoners. Hiva trading them back.
The thing is, they didn't get enough health off him to the point where he can't just stay here with the support now. And that means 4G right now, if they'd have been able to maybe, you know, get in there and headbutt him backwards into the team. Problem is, Hiva had to stretch for the actual pick themselves. Now, is it enough for Gap to be there? Victor Laser did just get used, but the rest of Mouse is kind of hovering around. This is where Hiva should have been coming from before, if he was able to, but now his flash is down, still has his ultimate available, and there's no minion wave there. Victor's cleared it out.
Yeah, and you can see Mouse have smelled this out. They know the dive was coming. They saw the vision go down, and they're clearing it out. They start to group around the mid lane. They're not going to give up anything else at this point in the game.
And the thing is, that is the play that 4G needed to try and make. The type of play, at least. Execution was a little bit poor on it. They tried to get themselves into the mid lane. Now they're going to try again.
Ultimate comes out. Binding goes down. The soil going to be more than enough. And the Victor getting a little tormented in that mid lane.
If at first you don't succeed, burn the flash, burn the cleanse, come back mid lane 1 minute later and take out the Victor with a binding. They hit down.
I don't remember that quote being such a mouthful. But
it's a very specific quote. I'm surprised your mother didn't ever tell you that, Daniel.
I was deprived, clearly.
I got that drilled into me every day, and, you know, just keep that in mind. It's how you get mid-towers, okay?
Growing up. Child League
childhoods apparently were very different.
Apparently. Maybe just like a bit of a culture difference.
You got to play outside. I was like...
You League of Legends drills all day.
Didn't help.
You adopted the League of Legends. I was born to it.
Oh, jeez.
Moving forward, Cloud Drake is going to go down for 4G. This will be their second dragon of the game. Fire, air, fire potentially again, following that one up. And really got a shout out to the mid laner here. Just keep landing those bindings. The team, of course, playing around this Morgana, but 3-0-0, a fantastic scoreline. Not even worried about the Zanyas yet. Is just buying the extra damage from the needlessly large rod.
Yes. So I was completely wrong about what the Morgana build was going to be. I'll hold my hands up on that. I kind of omitted in my brain that Frost Queens is a thing, because we did see it, yes, in the game that Morgana was played mid lane. I think it was day 1. So.
Oh yeah, all those bindings, the endless face tanking of bindings from Ezreal. I remember that game now.
That was yesterday as well, I think. I think we've seen Morgana.
It was. I think it was a completely different Ezreal, but yes, we saw the same exact thing of the Ezreal bindings, which is so funny because he's such a mobile champion. Wow, stuff happens. The prediction skills are on point from our Morgana players.
You get lulled into false sense of security. You're like, I've got enough to dodge this. Don't worry.
You're good.
Tower finally goes down 10 minutes later. We were looking at that a little while ago, and Echo managed to save it. But still, 4G have themselves a good lead. It's a slow and steady race, though, right now.
4G, 4K lead, backing them up. Moving through this game pretty quickly. Haven't taken any greater objectives quite yet. Just the outer ring of towers, just 2 dragons.
4G with a 4K lead.
Love it.
High definition and high speed. Whew. Nothing high speed about this, though, unfortunately.
Are they going to change to 5G when we get to that stage in the world?
Is that how their team is named?
Is that how the connection works? Is 5G the next step?
It actually is.
Oh, on the hunt, moving forward. Dan making his way out. His blood's boiling. He's running for the hills. They're making it out safely. Red buff going to drop, and nothing really gained.
I remember Americans call it LTE, don't you? Rather than 4G a lot of the time. Yeah.
Dude, I have no idea. I still have an American cell phone. I'm so behind. It's a
so
brick in this country.
3310. Oh, Dan, there's the ult. Got him.
Kindred grabbing another stack as well. Taking some jungle from Dan. Dan clearing out the waves.
The thing is, Kallista's in the top lane, and we spoke about this earlier. This time Kallista wasn't freezing, but having the non-TP user off in the side lane when the rest of the team is under pressure in the bottom lane really is not conducive to winning a fight.
Yeah, not at all. Remember to go. Hiva looking to go in. Caps knocked back into the team. Popped in an instant. The disengage from Braum. It's too little too late. Hiva tanks up the shots. They're burning down the tower. Wardane left on the front lines. Not going to get hit by the Time Winder, but a great dive coming in from 4G.
We told you that Eva was going to be aggressive, and Alistair suits him down to a T. Flash under the turret, gets a knock-up on multiple people, and the Kallista wasn't quite there in time. Dan had already used his ultimate. Wardane couldn't really do enough in that fight either, so at that point, Mouse just had too few tools to stay alive, and at this point you don't want to chase an Echo through the jungle. You're not going to kill him. He's probably not going to kill you either, but it's just a waste of time if you commit to it. So 4-0 for 4G.
And really everything's going in their favor. They got this massive lead, and we can watch this dive again. Keep your eyes on Hiva, because this man...
Look where Kallista is, though. That's one of the other sides of this, is there's nobody to re-engage this fight for Mouse. The Braum ult goes up, hits multiple people, and if the Kallista is here, perhaps to utilize the Fate's Call into the follow-up, maybe there's a way that Mouse can take that fight. Not available for him, though.
No, and now they're just so far behind. 6K gold lead. You can see Kindred already has 5 stacks. And Hiva, yeah, well, all this playmaking is going to cost him something. He pays with his life on that aggressive invade. And Mouse, a brief reprieve there. Going to bring up the gold at least a little bit.
Delicious.
It never stops being fantastic.
No, never stops being fun. Oh, nearly. Okay, that would have been a little embarrassing. Good job there was no red buff or anything. Just one more auto. Well, Phantom Dancer, second item, Kindred.
Yeah, nice. That's an absurd amount of attack speed. And I mean, when you see the tanky lineup coming out, you've got a Nunu who's building all health. You've got a Maokai, all health items.
And there's only 2 people you need to be worried about, realistically. That's the Victor who you're looking to be hitting, or the Kindred, the Kallista that you're kind of looking to be hitting as well. So get that damage reduction, makes it very difficult to actually deal with the Kindred.
And to be fair, Kindred is... I wouldn't say very far ahead of where she should be in stacks, but ooh, nice little steal.
She's way out farming Nunu at the same time.
Yeah, 30 CS lead just about, or yeah, 20 CS lead at this stage. And additionally, with 5 stacks on that mark, why not just build more attack speed? You've got current health damage, you got max health percentage damage, and that's just really oppressive to fight against, especially when Nunu doesn't really have any resistances coming out here either.
Now, there is the potential cheese moment where somebody on 4G dies randomly because Victor blows them up, and then Mouse just go for the Baron and get it. Because they have the Kallista, they have themselves the Nunu. If that were to happen, that would be the way for Mouse to actually get back into the game, if they can set themselves up a pick. It's somewhat unlikely, looking at how 4G have actually been playing so far. Are they actually going to... Okay, I thought Mouse was just going to start that then, which would have been risky with nobody dying. You need to have a little bit of a skirmish first. You're not quite fast enough to just kill it with...
Yeah, or far enough ahead. The Baron does a lot of damage.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't quite have a Nunu, Maokai, Braum frontline. Although you are looking pretty tanky at this stage in the game on the side of 4G. But Dragon on the way to respawn. Remember, it is that second Infernal Drake. 16% AP. Ooh, especially on a Morgana who has second item death cap.
Ouch. Ouch. This Sivir is also hurting as well. Not quite third item, fairly far away. Set on 1,700 gold though, so we'll be building most of the way there fairly soon.
Yeah, I think this one going down uncontested. Nunu's on the way in, but looks like he's going to be too late. And now they're moving forward. Dan,
oh, here's the fight.
The overstate is welcome. Mimic moving forward, looking for it. Binding, not going to land. Alistair goes in. 2 get knocked out. Fate's Call on the bat side. Oh, Sivir over the wall. Dan, he's trying to make a play, but he gets burned through. Snap back from Echo. Moving forward. Kallista's trying to do damage. She gets popped. Instantly, Wardane, the last man left standing, and there's not much hope left here for Mouse. I think this is going to be the ace, and 4G crush the fight, set their sights on Baron, and they are in absolute control.
They get themselves the second Infernal Drake and then choose to fight. They had the extra damage as well. Now they want to look for the Baron on top of it. This should be theirs. There's nothing that can stop them here. Nobody alive on the side of Mouse. It's the Baron, the second Infernal, the Ace, everything going over to 4G.
And look at the confidence in that team fight. We're going to get a replay of it. But you saw Gap just flash over the wall. He saw the kills. He's going to make them happen.
And the other side of this is the lack of confidence from Dan. He could ult right here if he's confident his team is coming across. But the Maokai is still trying to come up. Another position for an ultimate, but he's holding it because he doesn't want it to get interrupted. And the problem is he needs to be able to zone this fight. The only thing he's zoning there is Sivir into hitting him in the face and killing him. And for the rest of this fight, the rest of the team falls in the top side because they cannot deal with the rest of the 4G lineup. And Mouse are just too far behind to make this composition to work for them. They're trying to run a 3-tank composition, and they really are not tanky enough against this set of champions that's coming out from 4G. 2 Infernals on top of it makes it impossible to team fight now.
And you got to look. I mean, Kindred pretty much exactly where she wants to be. Stacking up continuously, 7 stacks now after that last fight, after taking down the Baron. So on top of that, finishing up the Hex Drinker, and you got to wonder, I mean, it really feels like Mouse wanted to fight in the mid game. They've got the Victor, they've got this Kalista, but they fell so behind early on that I don't think they were ever given the chance.
No, they really have not had a chance after this game opened up to actually take a good fight. Even Northscaren with that Unbreakable up just took so much damage off the minions and from 4G there that he's half health, gonna have to back away. Oh, mid lane.
Oh, Hiva. It's just disrespectful, Caps. Not a whole lot of hope left.
Oh,
not gonna take the time winder,
gone.
Dan. Trying to make something happen. Oh my god, Sivir's on the back half. That Boomerang Blade came out of nowhere. Victor gets burned through. Dan's running for his life.
That's a triple.
But who's laughing now? The triple kill for Sivir. Looking to make it a quadra. Maokai turns it back. But meanwhile, Jizuki pushing in the mid lane, looking to grab this tower. 4G still coming out ahead.
And it's not only that. So Mimic used his ultimate after he TP'd into the fight. Gets top lane, has now taken himself the top inner tower. And now 3 people are dead for Mouse. They've got to try and look after 2 lanes with almost no wave control, but 4G licking their wounds a little bit. Jizuki's still low. Hiva's still chunked somewhat. It means 4G back themselves away. They're going to reset themselves and look to push again. But man, this has just gone from strength to strength for 4G in this game. And this fight, as you said, keep your eyes on where Sivir comes from. This was the beginning. We didn't catch this. This was the trade between Victor and Morgana. Binding did not land, but it was just enough to keep Caps around for Hiva and Mimic to take him out. And then where does this Boomerang Blade come from? Sivir's running up, bounces through, the ricochet into the Boomerang Blade is enough. Gap did not really get it affected there by the Kalista ultimate either. Spell Shield was
one more
used at that kind of time, and Gap died, but it was worth it. Got himself a triple.
And I think what you were saying is that it's so hard to find the silver lining right now for Mouse. So often we look for a way. How can Mouse come back? We don't want to count them out, right? We never want to count them out, but at this stage of the game, what is really left? 11k gold in the favor of 4G. What we could definitely argue is a superior composition since they're ahead. Morgana hits like a truck. She doesn't even have to build Zanya's. She's got, you know, 1 utility item and then the two biggest damage items in the game, the Void Staff.
Oh, Sifa. We're about to have a wildfire when it comes up.
Oh my gosh.
1 minute 50.
Oh my gosh. The Raging Inferno.
The Raging Inferno.
The triple Inferno.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Somebody else said something else. We got to come up with an actual word for this.
Infernal.
Yeah.
What is it? Okay, wait. What was the actual? It was Infernal Cloud. Inferno. We're done. Never again.
Never again.
But now you're checking.
I'm checking. There was, yes, no, you are right. There's a cloud in there.
Yes. Got it. I am the king of Bop It.
King of Bop It.
Or Simon Says, maybe? I don't really know what this one is.
That's a different game in Europe,
Simon.
by the way.
Simon.
Yeah, Simon's... Okay, good.
The touching... The colors thing. I don't
know what kind of games you played.
Yeah.
But,
remember, very different upbringings.
Were very different.
Yeah. We didn't all just drill League of Legends day and night.
Oh dear. So 56 seconds until we, I believe, have our first triple Infernal that we've had here in Europe.
I think it's 3 Infernals. Triple Inferno.
What?
The 3 Infernals is insane to me.
Right. I'm sorry. Triple is 3. You're aware of that, right?
I am aware that triple is 3.
Okay, I'm just double checking.
I'm not gonna lie to you 100%. I just like got so lost in watching the minimap. Okay. You're like, yeah, Infernal, and I was like, yeah, 3 Infernals.
Okay,
you definitely said
triple
before that. Yeah, we wasn't. Not my fault. Calm down.
Do you need a minute?
I'm going to use the I'm still new excuse. Definitely not okay. But
10 seconds to go on that Infernal.
We're so excited about this.
I am actually quite excited because
24%.
We're gonna see a Sivir like W somebody and just win the fight. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, just think she autos 3 times and everyone on that team is going to die.
Oh my god, this is gonna be disgusting.
She's got the extra BF sword too.
This is
watch the damage. Watch the damage. Oh my god, extra 25 AD off that dragon.
Everything was peaceful until the triple Infernal Fire Nation attack.
Oh my
Maybe we call them a Fire Nation of Infernal Dragons.
It's the Fire Nation. That's great.
That's it.
And then if it gets nerfed, we can call it Season 2 when they're not the bad guys. Or we can call it the Legend of Korra because they're no longer the bad guys, right? But that's 75 AD for this. She got about 25 off, and so each of those dragons has been worth 25 AD. She has 3 free pickaxes because of these dragons.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of free pickaxes.
That's a lot of free stuff. So when a team fight happens, if we see one, it's going to likely result in Mouse just getting shredded down because of those dragons. Hiva is just itching to go in. Look at him. He's like, I'm going to flash in, guys. I'm going to. He's not quite...
He's level 10.
He's level 10, which means he's still only at 50% damage reduction.
It's 30 minutes.
Once he gets level 11, he'll still be 10% lower on damage reduction than previous Alistair. Which is
Braum has a locket and just took half health from a binding pool.
Yeah, I mean, remember the missing health damage that does?
Yeah,
so plus the 3 Infernal Drakes, so it's like, as soon as you start losing health, you're going to lose more. Hiva, he wants it. He wants to go in.
He wants it so bad. Mimic's hitting the tower. 4G, though.
Oh, push back.
I don't know if they're trying to bait in or if they're just getting over-aggressive here. Northscoren almost goes down to the pool. Oh my god, Caps, that was the bounce. That's what we were talking about.
That was it. Whew. Nearly carried it back. If Northscoren had been there, that would have been pretty funny, but at the same time...
Would have been devastating for one team, but hilarious.
Oh, no,
they know this is their chance. They want this fight. They're going in. Hiva, though, he just jumps in. He's going to turn this one around. Danny's charging up. He's going to get the full channel. This could have been the fight that Mouse wanted, but 4G are too far ahead. Lamb's respite goes down. Wardane drops. Caps could be next on the list. Taki moving forward. Caps is going to drop. 4G, they're going to close out this game effortlessly. What a dominating performance from this lineup. It's just a matter of time now. We're waiting for minions, and 4G gonna grab themselves another win.
4G, well, they picked up 4G rakes in this game, and 3 of them were Infernal, and allows them to crush through the last fight. They lost one just from tanking the turret, but that's gonna be it. 4G are gonna take this game.
Insane. The Infernal Drakes, when you stack them up, are so powerful, and additionally, this team play overall has been absolutely insane. I think the team crushed every single one of their lanes. They're going to crush Northscoren too while they're at it, and the Nexus is going to drop, but Mouse have to be hurting after that one. Forge, what an insane performance. I mean, that was, I think, maybe the most one-sided game we've had in the entirety of this tournament.
Possibly. I mean, Forge get Hiva back, and like the aggressive plays. I mean, Den did a decent job on the Bard and you know, some of the games that they were playing, but now you can see a difference with Hiva in this team. Just constantly aggressive, constantly being there to fight, and hey, it helps that they're ahead and helps that they got a good lead early on.
And I gotta praise him for that re-engage too. Fate's call came in, and he was like immediately like, if you're going to try to engage, I'm going to make sure that your damage sources are offline. Flashes past, isn't going to let himself get knocked up, shuts down or like locks up that Callista, and the fight just gets so easy from there for that team as a whole. And I mean, aside from the final fight where they were so massively ahead, it feels like they just outplayed at every single opportunity. And Nunu, a pick we were critical of, just got out jungled by Kindred. Kindred just did... jungled more, got more camps.
Nunu did nothing that game, pretty much.
If you gave Nunu scaling percentage health damage, like maybe he could keep up with all that time he spent in the jungle, but you're just not going to max the Kindred there.
Didn't achieve anything. Like, you couldn't control the objectives because your team ended up so far behind, couldn't really contribute in ganks early on, so they never really got the combo with the Callista working. We could see what they wanted to do with it. They were just too far behind.
Oh, what do you even, I mean, what is even left after there? Well, that's the last game of the day. We've got the results in. So let's take a look at those final standings from each of the groups. You can see Group A, cast by Vedius and Pulse early today, but low priority remain at the top after they take down Misfits, sending them down to 2-1. SK at 2-1 as well. Fnatic and TRC sitting at 1 and 2, and Melty yet to find a win at the bottom of that table.
Really good win today for low priority. So who's going to stop them, if anybody, at the top of that group? They're looking very, very strong. Meanwhile, here in Group B that we casted today, similar story for Kick, looking very strong themselves. Rough start, but ended up coming back against G2V today, looking pretty good. Then it's 4G picking up another win, and then we've got this tie. This is perhaps the hope for all of these teams that are tied 1 and 2. If we end up in a weird situation where like everybody's 2 and 3, maybe even the likes of Mouse, G2V, ESG, or Chef 6 could look to make a run for the top. But still, we've got more games to come before we get to that.
Yeah, of course, we're finished up with day 3, but there is plenty more group stage action coming in next week. Be sure to join us again on Tuesday, May 24th, not tomorrow, but the day after, where we will continue with day 4.
Day 4, yeah. So tomorrow is a day off, but there's Tuesday's matches that you can see on screen. And if you missed any of today's action, or any of yesterday's action, or day 1, if you feel like
any of it,
if you're going to have withdrawal symptoms and you want just that stopgap, something in the middle, you can always head over to LollySports.com. Check out any VODs, refresh on the schedule, you'll get it all over there.
Yeah, but of course, Lolly Sports, check it out there. In the meantime, that's going to do it for us. So today, or for us today, on behalf of myself, Stress, and the entire broadcast team, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.